great pleasure to be back again, asked to be here for the second year in a row at We Convention and at beautiful Atlantis with such an amazing audience of girls, women, boys, your highnesses and your excellencies. And I have the honor to host, I think, a theme that I find eloquently beautiful: when relationship is an art. Because success is not only about wealth, fame, and our finances. I think one of the most profound successes in our lives are our relationships. So what better way to honor this than to learn and look at two inspiring, empowered, international power couples, of course, Veronica Berti Bocelli and her husband Andrea Bocelli, who is the most successful classic artist of our time. So we're going to dive in and learn more from Veronica on how do we cultivate relationships, how do we also handle challenges, and how do we pursue our independency in the meantime. So Veronica, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you very much for having me here. And I was just watching you going on stage, and I said, that's my place. I usually belong to the backstage, so I know how to run things there, but I'm not so sure about things going up here. So
it's going to go perfectly well, because you have a really interesting story to tell as well. And I think in a room where we're talking about empowerment, you really define that. And maybe to, introduce you a bit more to the audience, share with us briefly, maybe your family history, your background, or any sort of childhood memories that maybe were on the path to where you are today.
Sure. I was born and raised in the countryside, exactly as my husband. And I always see my mother and father never still, like they were always working as a teacher and in the afternoon in a restaurant and then in the stable of the house because we had a lot of animals. So there's never time to really rest. So that's what I've seen all my life. So at a certain point in life, I had to decide which side I was, the people who see the jobs and do things or people that will watch other working. So I definitely on the first one.
And you met Andrea at a very young age, and we all love romantic love stories. So tell us, the moment when you met Andrea and a bit, how the relationship developed.
Sure. I met him when I was 20 years old, and we were in a dinner and a party that I didn't want to go, he didn't want to go, but luckily both of us went. And it was love at first sight. I mean,
wow.
The moment I arrived, as I said before, I love do things. And the moment I arrived, I realized this party was running a lot behind of what they're supposed to. So I tried to help. And I said, there's anything I can do. And after 5 minutes, everybody was just asking me what to do, what they had. And I said, wait a minute, let's see, we will figure it out. So this sound engineer came to me and looked at me very loud, and he said, where is the piano? Because Andrea Bocelli is coming, and nothing is ready here. And I said, I have no clue where the piano is, but I'll find out. Found the piano, sound engineer calmed down, and then the night starts. At a certain point, the poor guy realized I was one of the guests and not one of the organizers. So he came to me, and to excuse, he said, don't worry, later, to excuse myself, I want to introduce you to Andrea Bocelli. And I was like, I didn't ask for that, but of course I'll be happy too. So I was sitting in the audience, exactly as you do, enjoying the beautiful music. And at a certain moment, this guy came to me and said, Andrea's waiting for you. And I went like, Andrea who? Because to me, it was Maestro Bocelli, it was not Andrea. And we lived together since that day.
Wow. And that's long-standing marriage of 12 years, an age difference of 23 years.
Exactly.
And today you're the CEO of the Andrea Bocelli Management Office, among other things. We're going to dive more into that. But what I find interesting is that, since 2006, so quite early on when you met the love of your life, you also really transitioned into taking care of his professional life. And that is an outstanding achievement, because it's everything from the concerts to, increasing record sales, I think, to 50 million and all of that. I'm sort of wondering, how was it to handle such a toss? You're in love, but you're also walking in the steps of, a profound legend in his own right. And you're there at, 22, 23?
I think if I think about this now, it's scary.
Yeah.
Luckily, at the time I had to do it, you didn't even have time to think. It was basically something you have to. You're running day by day. I started moving baggage, driving the car, and then you end up fulfilling a contract, which I was not trained for. So at the very, very beginning, when my husband decided to step away from his ex-manager, and this was like a couple of 3 years after we met, I said, "Are you kidding? As you putting your career after years and years in the hand of somebody who doesn't speak English." I was worse than now, which is, if it's possible to think about it. And then I had no clue about all the legal part. He told me, I said, "I really believe in the skills you have. You will surrounded by great people. You have to decide who you want next to you. That will be the most important part. Surround yourself with great people, and you all will succeed together." I would be nothing if I wouldn't have the staff we have, the Andrea Bocelli Foundation family, the family that is here today, the girls who works with me, for her, but the same for all the women that are here in this room. So if alone we can do a lot, together we can do a lot more. This is like the motto of the foundation that brings my husband's name, and I really believe in it.
And I also know you talk a lot about, which I think is so important when you're talking about when relationship is an art, it's really that profound support that you've also always felt very held and supported by your husband, and of course vice versa. And it might be something that we, can forget when we both combine family and a professional life so profoundly intertwined. Has that been an important aspect?
This is crucial. Yeah. But I think all of us, we don't need to confuse the appreciation of the people of what happened now with the social. All of us like to like. At the same time, we don't have to live for like. What this means that, of course, even in the same family, whenever we are in the family, we live for the appreciation of our parents first, then our community, then, if you're an important person, your country, the entire world. Depending what you do in life, you need to have the support, the appreciation, the admiration of the people you have next. Some people are lucky enough to start with it. Others doesn't start from the same situation. But in Italy, we have a beautiful way of saying that the most beautiful flowers come from the cement.
Ah, yes.
It's a way of saying that
it can to grow.
Yeah, if you have the skill, sooner or later, it'll come out.
Do you have the same love language, you and Andrea? How do you communicate?
Oh, wait. Let's say we're very different, luckily and beautifully different, being a female and man, first of all, and then in the way we approach things. I'm very fast, and I need to decide in 2 seconds, whatever it is. I'm not saying that it's good to do it, but that's the way I am. So I decide very fast. It's very fast too. But if by any chance we disagree on something, I go on fire in 5 minutes, but 5 minutes later, it needs to be done. It's not worth it to be angry, to be in a bad mood. There's no reason to be that way. So it has to go away in the next 5 minutes. My husband never get hungry with anything. He's never upset, but the one time I've seen him doing that, luckily not with me, lasted forever. It's the kind of things that doesn't pass, and unfortunately, I speak and he's silent. So it's like he sings a lot, but seems like sometimes he's the kind of person that will never face the things straight away. He wants you to understand what was wrong. And I goes like, why don't you just simply said that? So it will be so much easier to communicate. But that's the beauty of being different. So, and that's why probably we're together since 23 years, never had a fight. I fight with myself. He doesn't even answer.
That's the art of when relationship is an art. No, but I think communication is such a core component if you're going to make a relationship an art. And how have you cultivated that? Because one sort of wants to get a bit of the tools of how to really find that success in a relationship, especially when you both work and, have a family together. It's not just, you're really intertwined. You're with each other 24 hours a day.
Yeah. I really wish I had a winning recipe for this, which if you, by any chance, you have it, please share. But I really think every day is a challenge. Yeah. It's a beautiful challenge. And we have to look at it in that way. Yeah. So every day you learn from the other person You learn from everybody, from the meeting, from the network, from the experience. Each of us are the result of our own experience, in a way or in the other, good or bad. And we're a result of both of that. So, of course, the different experience of what brought us to the same table, to the same discussion, makes us different. So I will never have the same tools my husband has. I will never have the same tools you have. And the same for each of us. So how can we maximize? Let's try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. What will he think? What will he think I should say in a good way? I'm not necessarily an artist in this, because in the sense that I'm very straight as a person, direct. And direct sometimes can be taken in the wrong way. But again, if the person knows you, has to understand that. And the same for me. I need to remember and consider who I have in front, because you don't want to be too straight and be painful, unnecessary.
Don't want to hurt unnecessarily. I just want to also raise a bit more of your tireless and dedicated work that you do. Not only, of course, supporting is not the right word, but really being, the power woman behind your husband and managing his career. But you also, you created the foundation, the Andrea Bocelli Foundation, which is really about empowering people and communities. And you're also in so many charities and in philanthropic endeavors around the world. I know you've been in Italy, in the United States, in Haiti. I think we have some pictures here behind us. You also, I know you produced, or you were behind the philanthropic event of Bocelli and Zanetti Night, and also the Celebrity Fight Night, founded by Muhammad Ali, and many things more than that. And in 2014, you were also accoladed for your accomplishments, because you received an award, the UNCA Global Citizens Award of the Year, for all your commitments, which is worth an applaud, because that is when you need to be empowered. But I was thinking, how do you sort of manage all of these different both projects and managing, a company and a foundation and an office? And how do you cherry pick the foundations that you really want to take on?
Let's say the foundation is our fourth child. We have three, but the fourth one, not necessarily in that order sometimes, is really something we care a lot. We all are born on the lucky side of the world. And we can't forget that, because there's no happiness if you cannot share that happiness with the people in need. I met Andrea and he was, and he is still, the kind of person who will always say yes, being the voice of the people who doesn't have a voice. So necessary being next to him, loving what he can do, and seeing the result of what the effort brings. How can you just step or stop or not thinking every day, what can I do better? So the foundation started in a moment when we really felt the necessity to also be helpful and more organized, to be more effective, to have an impact on not only on one person, two person, but an entire community, and be structured in that way. So we started as the three of us. When I say three of us, Andrea, of course, the voice, and then myself and Laura Biancanali, which is the director of the foundation. And now we are 65 people and a lot of volunteers, because in this sense, each of us can really make a difference. My mother dedicates a lot of time listening people who has nobody else listen. And then I meet people who has an incredible network and successful life. Successful mean personal success or economically success, which is so important, because without the skills and the time, we wouldn't have the possibility of going ahead, but also without the money. Without that support, all our dream will stay paper.
Very true. And being seen and heard is a profound thing that everybody needs. So to be seen and heard, and of course helped. I want to also bring up, because if you haven't seen this, you and Andrea did a real adventure. I would say a spiritual musical documentary film called The Journey, with magnificent scenery, of course, breathtaking music, where you were on horseback in these, beautiful environments. Just share with us, how did this come to fruition, and what's sort of the purpose with this one?
So after the pandemic, my husband said, the day I will be able to ride my horse, I won't stop until the horse stops. Whenever he's tired, I'm going to stop, not before. Then we said, okay, why don't we do something that at least has a meaning, like a spiritual meaning? Why don't we do a pilgrim? So yes, so we started, and we went upside down in the opposite route, because usually this pilgrim, which is the Via Francigena, starts from Canterbury, goes down to Rome. It's meant to be for the pilgrim to find his own fate and question yourself about a lot of different topics, spiritual topics. We did it the opposite way around. We started from Rome with our fate in the heart, going back home where we belong. So along the path, I don't want to say everything has been easy. We almost divorced. In the sense that, of course, my husband was always very dedicated to the horse, and he cannot go less than running.
Yeah.
So sometimes I was either tired or scared about things, and he goes, like, "Come on, you can do it, you can do it." I said, "You cannot push me from the back. Say, I have my own horse." So, and we did it 400 kilometers together. A lot of laugh, a lot of moment when then you have to overcome. Of course, we're challenged. That were very interesting and I wouldn't expect in life to face. But it was also, the real reason was to be able to speak with friends and sing and pray together, to be united, to find our way of going back home with something in our heart and to be able to spread it to whoever was in need.
And I think music has such a profound effect. We can really, bring people together with music that, it touches the heart and all the senses. Any spiritual insight that you got from the journey, something that opened up within you when you did the journey?
Of course, the most beautiful and challenging moment, there was nobody around. And it's true. I mean, the camera will follow, or the photographer can follow only where there was a path. But in the moment where you really need somebody, you have to count on either on yourself or to the people that are very, very close to you. So picked up people very carefully.
And also, time flies, but I still want to, how do you sort of balance? I know in the other panel you said work and life you don't balance, but in your case, how do you balance, a professional life and a love life and a family life when you're home? I mean, do you leave the work and that's how it functions, or is it all sort of intertwined?
I had, one time they made the similar question, and it was a United Nations. It was a similar situation, and I remember thinking careful about the answer because I said, I'm not sure this is what they want to hear, but again, this is what I really feel. I know that if you do something and you do it, concentrate on that, you will do 100%, at least of your capability. Then if you do two things, you have to do is doing 50-50, adding more things. We have to be in peace with ourselves, knowing that we cannot be perfect. We're not born Wonder Woman. So we have to juggle, we do. But being in peace, knowing that if we are working, somebody else is raising our kids. And you can be in peace with that. I'm not necessary, because sometimes I regret not being home. I love my job, don't get me wrong. I will die for everything I do. But still, I'm not sure sometimes myself, I have to put the priority in another way.
It's a balance.
So it's a balance.
It's
it's
a balance.
difficult.
Yeah.
If I would say, are you in balance? The answer is no. How many times we answer the phone and we have our kids asking something? What's more important? So one time you have to know you have to answer the phone. One time we have to be sure that we answer our kids. And I speak to myself first.
And I'd also like to get one component. What is the most important thing when relationship is in art? What's the most important trait in a relationship?
I'm sorry, I missed
the most important trait. Is it to be listened to? Is it a communication? Is it love? What's sort of the most important, do you find, to really have a relationship?
I really believe that, as it has happened for us, for example, I live with Andrea 24 hours a day, 365 days beside the day you're in Dubai, which is with my daughter home, calling 100 times, asking when are you going to be back. But usually we live together all day long. We work together a lot. So that doesn't it's not necessary, as you said before, the time that makes a difference. It helps, but that's not that. But it's the quality. So sometimes I wish, we all will be able to take away that phone, that addictive things that bring us to some other places, and be able to look at each other in the face, stare at the eyes, and just listen.
Look in the eyes and listen.
Yes.
And as time flies, a last word to all, the ladies, the girls, the men in the audience. What advice would you give to empower people in their relationships, whether it can be professional or private? But what would you empower them with?
Is that, of course, the passion drives you in the right direction, but also you have to listen around. I know that, for example, a lot of people sometimes come to me and say, "Oh, I want to be a singer. What I have to do?" I say, question yourself. You want to sing, or people? Is the world asking you to do that? Because it gives you a direction, in the sense that not necessarily what we like or what we would love to do, we're not necessarily born for that. So we have to listen and see what we're able to do, it's our best, and then nurture that.
So start with yourself. And
Yeah, start with yourself, and of course, listen what the world is asking you, what you feel comfortable in doing, and that gives you, and follow these things.
Well, thank you for being such a role model, such a source of inspiration.
That I don't know. I do my best.
Well, you are, and such a power woman. And also congratulations to your husband, and also to all of us here. Empowered women empower women.